But today is Friday. What could go wrong?
Judge.
Why?
Yeah.
You know why I said that? Because we are not going to be bound by old wise tale. You know what? It's not going to happen. It's going to be a great Friday because you know why? Nothing can go wrong. Nothing. Look, you thought I had a cold or something because I'm a little stopped up, but I don't. It's just allergies. I took my allergy medicine this morning. If something did happen, that means I got it from Diana. But it's Friday. Mahia, what can go wrong? It's Friday. See?
Yeah, she just threw it out there, right?
Frank Sandoval is going to walk in here in 10 minutes. All right, Frank Sandoval didn't walk in, but Jason and Daniel walked in. That's the next best thing. But seriously, if anybody has Frank Sandoval number, Lance said he spotted him at the elevator, so he thought he was here. Obviously not.
I have it right here, Judge. Oh, you got it?
Oh, yes. Okay, you know they just started Airbender on Netflix.
Yeah,
Has anybody started watching that?
I saw 20 minutes of it yesterday, then I passed out so tired.
Okay, but let me ask you this. You saw Airbender.
Absolutely.
They did, I think, a live action before. I was unimpressed with the actors they chose to do that. But my question for you is, you put 20 minutes in, you know, I'm in the twilight of my life. Should I start watching that?
Absolutely.
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 All right. I like the firm response.
It's really good.
It is?
Sure. We were in trial for like days and I had to go to the New Braunfels to play D&D, then drive back. I was like, I didn't even go to the gym, man. I should tell you something. That's so bad.
Hello?
There's a series, right?
Yeah, 8 episodes.
Okay, I'll ask him. Okay. Is it? Thank you, Mom.
You can tell me.
I think they have.
Oh, it's attorney-client privilege, whatever.
I know, but you know what I mean?
What was that? You wanna punch Officer Lana?
All right, so to the media, we do have a grand jury coming up at 10. It should be very short. It's just for me to swear them in. So just make sure you don't film them at all. I know you already know, but I wanted you to know. All right, thank you so much. So I'm going to spend part of my weekend watching that.
I agree.
And also,
Weekend, take out, it's only 8 episodes.
well, I can't do that because I have to go out to the house and see what the state is of the repair. But you know, I always tell people when anything, people may see it as something bad happened, there's always a reason for it. So now, you know what I tell everyone? In your bathrooms, the hose that goes from the toilet to the wall, you're supposed to change that out every 10 years. Did you know that?
No.
No. Guess what?
So I know it's probably not.
It's not.
I don't think anybody does that.
Yeah.
No, but here's the thing. Some people did do that in my neighborhood. But when the adjuster came out and when the plumber came out, you know what they said? Well, Stephanie, you know, you're supposed to change this out every 10 years. No, I did not know. This is not common knowledge.
How would I know that?
So now you all are on notice. I'm sorry.
Unless you talk to the insurance company, I am not.
Yeah. So when your house floods and you're away for 7 days, that's not a good thing.
Oh, absolutely.
And then when your flight is delayed and you open up the garage and water comes pouring out.
I would die.
Oh, yes. I was just like, okay.
Was that when you were in Europe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what I did? I came in and my neighbors are so nice. They're like, Stephanie, you could spend the night with us. I said, thank you so much. I said, I'm going to go to sleep. it's too late. It was probably 10 PM. And I said, I'm going to get up in the morning and I'm going to handle this in the morning. And I immediately started calling people, and everybody says serve pro, serve pro.
Mhm.
But then other people said, no, that's your insurance company. They should have a preferred person who does that. And so I call them, and Nationwide is, oh, this is who you can call. I'm like, okay, great.
Okay, cool.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. So, yeah.
So the pipe dispersed, like it just tore off.
Mm-hmm. And you would not believe how much water comes from that.
A lot.
Oh, it's like, shh.
I'll tell you a funny story later.
Okay. But when I came home, if I knew how to swim, I could have swam through the standing water. So that's why all my shoes are destroyed.
Yeah.
Every last one of them,
I love the way you.
every single boot.
I would, you know,
Well, you know what? I called my mom and my mom said, Stephanie, it's material. And you know, I always wanted to declutter.
not that way though.
I know. And then then the next thing my mom said was, were your purses destroyed?
Like, no, thankfully.
Well, I told her about 4 because they fell off the shelf for some reason. I don't know why.
Not the Birkins.
No, not the Birkins.
So we have grand jury. And then we'll start. Like 10:30.
It's so funny.
What?
What's her name? Got that at 3 stations, like looking to the windows.
It's history. I don't want to just. go over it. Yeah. Sounds good.
Here's- 9:30.
Y'all guys get out of their way, please.
So. Thank you for telling.
Yes.
We would have.
Y'all were moving.
On Mr. Narcissus.
Look at those
All right.
cars.
Oh,
You can go right there.
step back a little bit. That's okay. I'm trying to make sure people don't get pneumonia or whatever. All right, Jose Garces. Jose Garces, come down. All right.
Sir.
All right. So what's going on with this case, Mr. Montgomery?
It was set for yesterday for first post indictment appearance. It was a trial setting. We were unable because he was downstairs to get him into the courtroom. The court was in trial on this murder case and
Yes.
that they concluded. We recalled him for yesterday. Thank you for bringing him back.
No problem.
We're unable to reach a settlement today. Perhaps we will next time, perhaps not. But
Okay.
if you'll give us a plea bargain deadline and reset the case, we'd appreciate it.
All right. So do you have all the discovery?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And was the state able to tender an offer?
They did, Judge. We're still working on going back and forth, but there is an offer on the table.
All right. So how old are you, sir? 44. All right, Lance, can you recall this in 3 weeks for a plea deadline date? All right. And is this the only case your client has pending?
It is, Your Honor.
Oh.
It's a state jail felony theft.
All right, Lance, could you give him a reset form just in case he bonds out? So we'll bring you back on March 14th if you're in custody. If you're not in custody, you'll need to make sure you're here at 9 on March the 14th. You understand? All right, is there anything else, counsel?
Nothing from defense, Your Honor.
All right, and thank you for showing up exactly at 9. You said you would and you did. I never doubted you. All right, thank you.
Thanks. God bless you.
Oh, thank you. God bless you too. See how great the day is going. I've already received a God bless you.
He probably plays a little baseball.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Hold on. Yes, no. There's three parts.
Mhm.
He insists. It sounds like I like feet.
Yeah, hey, I don't know.
I don't.
Mhm.
Wait,
Let me see. Let me see your face, Oliver.
I just. Thanks, Lance.
They're working on it.
Sorry to drag you.
And Deputy Laura, on Sandoval's client, because we've been trying to do this now, this will be the third day.
He has two clients.
Okay, so just hold them if we have to put them in the back. And everyone for the trial, we're gonna be starting probably at 10:15.
No problem. We have stuff to do in the meantime.
All right, because I have a grand jury that's coming up I need to swear in.
Judge, this doesn't need to be on the bit, I just
Sure.
want to express it. So yesterday, I put all my stuff in my bag. I have not even opened it because I was so nervous about even opening it at my house. So I'm gonna take it, but I'm not gonna open it. I'm gonna go through paper by paper. See if I can find it.
Whatever was there.
Okay.
I'm gonna just look through everything.
All right, if you can look through it, and then if for some reason she can't find it, I'm sure it can be duplicated.
It's gotta be in my bag. It just has.
Okay.
I don't know, you know, where it- 'cause he didn't have it. He got it to me.
Their diagrams.
Yeah, it was the diagrams.
Was it not John's thing? No, because you grabbed them.
That's,
They were.
I don't remember what I was doing because I was.
Yeah, we're thinking about other things.
And so, but I'm, it's gotta get in there. I can't imagine where else it would be if it's not anywhere else that we put. But I was so paranoid to open my bag last night at home
Yeah.
that I was like, I'm just gonna wait until I get.
Okay.
That way like nothing went out, nothing went in.
We'll take a break before a jury comes out, right? So I can go get the evidence.
Oh, yes, yes.
And then, like I said.
Corey Baumgartner,
Yes.
right there. Richard, he's right there. Corey Baumgartner.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I got wrong. I had him down on a different floor.
And then.
Okay.
See the stuff that-
I've been looking for it.
Down to the vault that says in trial. I'm not sure.
How you doing? Yeah, let me put your file.
Did you say 10:30 or?
10:15, the grand jury is supposed to be up here at 10, and that usually doesn't take that long.
Happy Friday, Judge.
Happy Friday.
No Friday's Eve, just Fridays, Judge.
It's Fridays.
Yeah. Yeah, I got that. I didn't realize that was you standing back to. No. Yeah. And I got you. I mean. Would that be addressed by them? It will not. She doesn't want to go anyway. Yeah, she did have me already. What you asked. I mean. Super.
Yes. Mhm. You're welcome.
Oh. Oh, yeah, obviously, granted, every plan in the right direction. It also appears. I know, but we're not like. Oh, go to here, go to here. And you're. Somebody in the. Yeah, I know. And I talked to them, because I'm never going back to the writer. They check this one. Yeah. I sent you, are you? I just assumed you're on this, and it's just, okay. But now, yes, thank you.
Yeah. I don't know what it looks like. He's wearing a t-shirt. That's. It's. So apparently you got the same thing now, it's supposed to. If you sign it up. For 10 years. 10 years to do. Yeah, but you gotta host it, not supposed to. The reason I'm telling you is because I've got 304 minutes of space, and I can't really so, yeah. This is going to do that, hey. Can I see his file? So, bench one, first, the bench one will pull you out of their machines and you guys go. So if you get hot in that skill set, then you're not in the senior TC. This case will never get resolved. That's why they brought it. It's not a trial setting, so I mean, I think. I don't know what they're alleging. It's supposed to be failure to report. It could be you to a class. It could be you to call or yeah, when you went out of the county. I checked. Yeah, what they have is so there's here in Bear County, it's like 500 possible violations. Drug use, failure to go through drug use, didn't do a class. So you get. Well, you know for sure they have you for a violation. I don't know how they do it. Here, it would be a violation of condition number one. And over there, I don't know if that's condition one or two. I don't work in the all I know is that we were not really set to go. Our set for everything will reach about 60 the bench here and so today's Friday afternoon. Because they're the judgment. And all of those areas, CDC, you got one day that you know everything you need That you were doing some traffic violations and that you put on some lights. And that you have to be someone and have to be on what's down. Then you activated the sirens. You disregarded the light sensor. No. He said, yeah, I hear it right there. And I think it's because it's 9 more. And continue. Eventually, outside of these. I know if I just. Not that I'm aware of. And I made my approach to the location. So you're saying you want to trust? You want to go to trial? Today was not a trial day. So today is to see if you can offer or get you. I haven't seen it. Oh my God. When you're done with Wisconsin, I'll see you back here. If you get out, you could continue, make sure you come back. Okay. They will transfer you, eventually, to transfer you back to this coast. That's what eventually it is. The judge from that Scotia is requesting out of their county back. So this judge, it's like, well, let's bring them over here to take care of this case today. Going to a Scotia, and give them all of my. If you want to trial, get it in the trial date. Because your case. Yes.
Hello. All right, your client. Who's your client? Matthew Hughes,
Yes, Your Honor.
come down, please.
Corey, I've been doing this for 30 years. It's like one of the options.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, what's happening with this case?
Yesterday was our first set. He had an outstanding warrant, of course, where he's taking the custody for. He didn't have, I was contributing to the court, taking care of his business here without any issues. I would just ask for a bond to be set on that. The state made their first offer.
All right, you'll need to file a motion for a bond to be set on that, and that will be forwarded to Judge Nahara. If you'll get with Lance, he will coordinate when that can be heard by Judge Nahara. So on these two cases, have you received all the discovery, counsel?
This is my first setting. I know we just got this new warrant yesterday, so I don't know if that's been updated.
Okay, and is that a warrant on a case other than these two?
Correct.
All right, what is that case?
The warrant was on 2024 CR 2278, which is an evading arrest and detention charge.
Okay, so he only has two cases pending?
Yes, ma'am, 2 felonies, and then the other they.
All right, Lance, if you can give us a 30-day reset, and that'll be for discovery.
March 21st.
All right, so we'll come back on March 21st. And if you could give him a reset form in case he bonds out. I don't know the nature of why there was a warrant issued for you on the evading arrest and detention. But we will set that in Judge Nahara's court to be heard as quickly as possible. Okay. Do you have any questions?
just lost in words right now, to be honest. It's very my first time trying to get everything together.
Okay. All right, we're going to see if we can possibly get you on Judge Nahara's docket for next week to have an issue about the bond. And then your attorney can also confer with the state on the bond to see if they perhaps can come to an agreement. But even if they come to an agreement, because the laws have changed, it'll still need to be heard. You understand? All right, good luck to you.
So it's, 170, no, I just put, so just so.
Frankie, are you ready to do your plea on Gregory Oliver? All right, thank you.
She's saying that we agree to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Just shoot.
All right, counsel, I have that the paperwork has already been signed on Oliver. Diana, can you ask the clerks if they've sworn Oliver in? All right. Thank you. Yes.
Morning, Frankie Sandoval and Gregory Oliver. The court has the paperwork in front of you, Judge, and it has been signed.
Yes, it's been signed. Has he been sworn in on Oliver? All right, so they're gonna swear him in.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Lance.
Morning. How are you?
I understand it's. I don't sense it yet, but I understand. Yes. Well, whenever we have a chance. No, whenever we have a chance. Your young lady was assisting me with it. And, she's like, this gentleman with misdemeanors, just rearrested. Thank you. Well, I think we need the other one too, because I don't think he signed them yet. That were dismissed, he was a fugitive, now he's arrested. They go in there and look at it, and so you see all these dismissals. No, thank you. Okay. Yeah.
Judge, may I approach?
Yes.
On, Cory Baumberger.
All right, Mr. Baumberger, come down. Oh, and counsel, if you just step back a little bit.
Sorry, Judge, I don't see the imagination.
All right, what's happening in this case?
So Judge, Mr. Baumgartner wants to proceed to trial.
Okay. All right, do you have all the discovery?
No, Your Honor, I'm not sure because I haven't pulled it because we weren't really set today. We were set for a couple more weeks. And so I'll pull it today and I'll let the district attorney's office know.
All right, so you want a jury trial. And the reason why the coordinator set you on the docket because they want you in another county. So we are going to get this trial done. State, when's the next time you all are up for trial? Is it? Because I know you all have the murder trial next week, then I think it may be the 11th. Is that correct?
Which trial?
I know you all have a murder trial coming up.
Yes.
Will your next setting for criminal trial division be March 11th?
I think that's what we have a lot of family violence.
No, it's March 5th, Judge, but that's also, we have two major ones on that. We have Lozano on that. That's the out of state witnesses coming in,
Okay.
but that's March 5th.
All right, what I'll do is, this is an evading arrest detention. Who knows what may happen to those cases? I'll put this on the docket, but you're not going to be number one, Mr. Garcia.
Judge, I won't be here on March 5th. That's
Oh.
why it was originally set for March 5th and then it was reset
Oh.
today.
March
Okay.
11th, I believe we have alternate impact court. I
All
don't
right.
know if that might be an option.
March 11th is.
All right, so we're going to put you on March 11th for impact court.
Okay,
So it will definitely go.
sounds good.
All right. And could you, I know he has a warrant. I mean, I know he has a case pending out of the county as well. But Lance, if you could give him a jury trial setting for March 11th and have him sign. All right.
No problem.
And then we'll see if the grand jury is here.
You still need him?
Yes.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Hey, how are you doing? Absolutely.
Hi, Coach. I'm a young lady, and I'll be honest, I don't recall ever doing one before. She's been accepted on felony pretrial diversion. So we've done the application, filled in the information, but on misdemeanors, I just email them back to them and then they go show up, but she's in custody. Will they come over and do the orientation with her and then?
No, the DA's office. It's a contract with the DA's office.
Yes, and then generally I email it to the DA's office and the individual then goes to pretrial services for orientation.
Oh, no, I think once the contract
Email to them.
then they.
And then show up for orientation. So I'll give her the information for orientation. She still has a County Court 15 hold on her. So that gives us a little bit of a buffer. Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
They're starting. They're at murder on right now.
So most likely. I would.
After child,
Yes.
I was checking in, getting ready for Marcelano, the DA that was set for Monday for trial. But I understand you're in trial now, so are we gonna reset this?
Oh, no, this is going to finish.
Oh, it's gonna finish?
Yes,
Okay.
you're welcome.
Are those still on my?
I don't know, somebody left them up there. I just
They
don't
must be
remember.
mine.
Put them in your, put them in your pocket. I just let you up there.
Thank you, I appreciate it. You know, I've done the keys before too. I can't put an Apple tag on these or I would. In case she makes a claim on her, can I put 15 cases? In case the DA's office dismisses this case, she'll have to report to pretrial services. Nabby will look at this paper so she has the information. Okay, I just want to make sure that was permissible. Thank you. There's a couple of big thresholds she has to overcome.
Hmm.
Yes, it's just kind of paper clip.
Thank you.
I'm judging my buddy, before she finished the inmate, she gave me the book back. And
Oh, okay.
he was like, oh my gosh, the ending.
Yeah. All right, court is calling 2021 CR 3702, State of Texas versus Gregory Oliver. Could our parties approach and announce for the record? For the state, for the defense,
Good morning, Frankie Sandoval on behalf of Mr. Gregory Oliver.
and are you Gregory Oliver? Counsel, you received all the discovery. Did you review it with your client?
Yes, Your Honor.
Court will find that the state is in compliance with discovery. Mr. Oliver, I'm showing you what's entitled True Bill of Indictment. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it?
Yes.
Counsel, do you waive the reading of the indictment?
Yes, Your Honor, we do waive the reading of the indictment, Mr. Gregory Oliver.
State, are you proceeding on the indictment as presented?
We are.
Mr. Oliver, I'm showing you what's entitled Court Admonishments and Defendants Waivers and Affidavit of Admonitions. Did you review that document with your attorney? Did you understand it? Did you sign it in all the appropriate places? Did you understand you're charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon? That's a second-degree felony. Range of punishment is anywhere from 2 to 20 years in prison and up to a $10,000 fine. Did you understand? If you have a plea bargain agreement with the state, the court does not have to follow your plea bargain agreement. If for any reason the court does not follow your plea and gives you more than you bargained for, the fact that you entered a plea will not be used against you and you will be allowed to withdraw your plea. Did you understand?
Yes.
Did you understand you have a right to jury trial, a right for you or your attorney to cross-examine and confront any witnesses the state would call and the right to remain silent? Did you understand by entering this plea, you were giving up those rights? Did you intend to give up those rights and enter into a plea in this case? Counsel, has your client been able to provide you with any defenses?
Yes, Judge.
Do you believe he has a rational as well as a factual understanding of the charges against him?
In my opinion, yes, Your Honor.
Do you believe he is currently competent and was legally sane at the time of the offense?
Your Honor, there have been proceedings previous and Mr. Oliver's been restored. And at this time, I do believe so.
All right. Mr. Oliver, has anyone threatened you, coerced you, or placed you in fear to get you to enter this plea? Has anyone promised you anything other than the plea? Are you satisfied with the way you've been represented? Are you a U.S. citizen? Court will find that defendant has knowingly and voluntarily waived in his right to jury trial. Showing you the plea bargain page. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it? According to the plea, punishment is to be assessed at 2 years in the prison. There are no applications. Also, did you understand if I find that there was a deadly weapon, I will enter an affirmative finding of deadly weapon? Did you understand?
Yes.
Did you understand that to be the entirety of your agreement? That's not your plea bargain agreement? All right, you want to go over that part with him,
Of course, Your
counsel?
Honor.
All right, if you all have a seat,
Thank you, Judge.
you're welcome. All right, are the grand jurors here?
Judge, Mr. Flores was just in here. He said
go outside and find it.
there
All
was
right,
a
thank you.
typo on the notice, and so a lot of them are going to the third floor. In the
Ah.
Process of bringing them up. They have 40 so far.
Okay.
Morning, Your Honor.
Morning, are you all ready?
Yeah, Coach.
Yes.
So, Your Honor, my understanding, Jorge from the Central Jury Room, let me know I can truly typo on the side.
Okay.
So a lot of them are reporting to the third floor. And they're getting redirected over here.
Okay,
So right now we have about 45.
okay. And how many were called up?
He said, I think, between 75 and 80.
Okay,
Oh, really?
all right, we'll wait.
Okay, Judge.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
All right, Deputy Laura, I'm gonna let the jurors know what's going on so they don't think that they're just, oh, you did? Okay, thank you. You're always on it. I appreciate that. Hello.
When the court's available, Mr. Oliver is ready to go forward.
All right, hi. Yes.
Sorry, I'm
I thought she was on the.
Oh,
phone.
my
Oh,
gosh.
I thought she was on.
Yes, sir. I'll let her know to come this way.
I cannot believe that the prosecutors are not helping you, especially.
Get down, Judge. You made her walk around.
Unfortunately, the Wi-Fi is up there, else I would send it via Adobe Sign. You know?
Uh,
I was like,
how's your leg?
it's slowly healing. Got this new fashion accessory.
Oh, there you go. There you are. Thank
I
you.
appreciate it, Judge.
Have a good one.
Too.
All right, Mr. Oliver, if you'll come back. All right, we're back on the record in 2021 CR 3702. Yes. Oh, no problem. Here's the thing. I think that if you don't understand something, I always want people not to be afraid to let me know. Okay. So did you understand that to be the plea? Defense, is that the plea?
It is, Judge.
State, is that the plea?
Yes, Judge.
All right, I'm going to show you the waiver of appeal paragraph. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it? And did you sign it in both places? Did you understand by signing that you're waiving your right to appeal? The only items that can be appealed are written pretrial motions that have been filed, heard, and ruled upon by the court. Did you understand? Counsel, have there been any such motions?
There have, Judge, and they've been ruled upon.
Okay. All right, I'm going to, then to the offenses charged, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest? State any evidence
State offer states exhibit 1 and all attachments.
No objection, Judge.
showing you what's entitled waiver and consent to stipulation of testimony and stipulations. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it? Did you sign it in all the appropriate places? Okay. Again, did you understand you have a right to jury trial, a right for you or your attorney to cross-examine and confront any witnesses the state would call, and the right to remain silent? Did you understand that today the state will be presenting evidence in the form of witnesses' statements and police reports But most importantly, there will be no live testimony. Did you understand? Court will find that defendant has knowingly and voluntarily waived and consented to stipulation of testimony and stipulations. Will accept into evidence states exhibits 1 and attachments and review the same. All right, what is your client's criminal history?
Your Honor, if it wasn't attached to that, I couldn't answer.
State,
Yes, Judge.
what is Mr. Oliver's criminal history?
Hey, Judge, if you'd like to review, I can,
Sure.
any objection to the defense?
No objection.
Yeah. For the record, I presented the judge with the defendant's NCIC, TCIC.
Thank you. All right, thank you. I appreciate that. All right. The court is finding you guilty. The court will follow your agreement, sentence you to 2 years in the prison, and give you credit for any time served. Does anyone want to speak to the affirmative finding of deadly weapon? I mean, I know it's aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. From reading the fact scenario, it appears that the complainant hit him first with a stick. I don't know the size of the stick. I don't know what's going on with the stick, but then he hits him back with a rock. So were these two homeless people, or what was going on?
Your Honor, it was an unfortunate situation which escalated, given the totality of the circumstances, given it used to its fullest potential, and given the options available to Mr. Oliver at this time, we accepted this plea bargain.
All right.
Yeah, I'm just tired. I've been 3 years dealing with this and same thing you doing. That's why I'm like.
So has he been in custody for 3 years? Does anybody know if he's been in custody for 3 years?
Your Honor, with respect to that, yes, part of it was the restoration process.
Okay.
And it's just given the current circumstances and the protections he's entitled to. I don't want to go further into it on the record.
All right. So I guess there's some mental health issues involved in this. That's why we had the restoration. So what are you going to do to help yourself when you are released from custody? Do you have a place to stay?
I got a place for my mother and my father.
Okay.
I'm going right to the Haven for Hope and see what, I gotta get my ID. And get my bank account.
Okay.
I'm going, I got my little 5-year-old granddaughter. You know,
All right. So here's the thing. You've got to follow through on all of that. And I know when you're at the jail and when you're at the prison, they give you all the information you need and they give you different resources. If for any reason you're released and they don't give you any resource, you can always come back here. I'm going to find you guilty, sentence you to 2 years in the prison, give you credit for any time served. It's an affirmative finding of deadly weapon. Court will show that the judgment is satisfied. Even though I show that the judgment is satisfied, you still will be taken to the prison and the prison will process you. And then if everything is calculated correctly, you will be released. And I'll give him credit for any inpatient time at the hospital. Going to show you what's entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it? And did you sign it? Because this is a plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement, and because you waived your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to an attorney. Do you understand? All right, good luck with you, okay? You're welcome.
Thank you for your courtesies.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. All right, are we ready with the grand jurors? All right, thank you.
Yeah, I want to let you know, I think we're done with, when check with Lance, I think we're done with Miss Escobedo. I got what I needed from her. And
So Journey Escobedo, you're done?
yeah, good morning. Yes, we've filled out the, she's been accepted into the pretrial diversion program.
Okay,
The form's been filled out and signed. I'm now going to email it back to the district attorney's office.
all right. Can I have a 30-day reset on Journey Escobedo for PTD?
Your Honor, if I may, I believe we already have a future date when we first applied. And that was only about 2 weeks ago. So I think.
Oh, no, it was for today. So I need another date.
We have 6.
Okay, thank you,
Yes,
Judge.
all right, thank you.
We have,
What,
we have 6-0 now, Judge.
oh, yeah,
I think
we're
that's
gonna
enough.
bring them in. That's enough. All right, thank you.
We're just getting a date on.
Yes, we're gonna get a 30-day reset.
March 7th is on the system, Judge. If you want to keep that one.
Okay, we'll keep March 7th. Oh, thank you. It's March 7th. Yes, we'll keep March 7th then.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're
I'll let Ms.
welcome.
Escobedo know. Mr. Lance, thank you.
Thank you. All right, Deputy Laura,
Yes, ma'am.
if she can get a reset form, then she can go back. And then Diana, if you want to go ahead and get your stuff for the trial.
Judge.
Yes.
That was it.
Yeah, that's it. The other one is a motion to modify bond conditions, but the attorneys didn't show, so. Oh, before you leave. I think this is for you. Oh, look, I have people coming at me from different directions.
I wasn't.
Yes, if you all can look over that and see if you have any objections. And Lance, on this case, if you could just reset it, they were supposed to do a plea by Zoom, but the attorney didn't appear. So maybe we can set it for 3 weeks. Oops, sorry. And I do not know why I have David Duenas' file. I mean, Duenas.
Yes.
Just to help you out, Judge.
Oh, thank
Your
you.
dates.
Oh, you're so awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you need 14,
16.
16
12 and plus 4.
plus 4 alternates. Okay.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. Thank you.
Judge, is it okay if we get this?
Yes.
Take a look.
And Lance, this was a jury trial. I don't understand why they brought this out to me. That one. So maybe they know. Thank you.
I thought he wants to do it again.
He's like, I'm not moving. So much better than chocolate. Punishment. Punishment.
Yes, yes.
And we keep like adding weight and working. And those. No, he's.
Oh, so are they, guys, are they coming in? Oh, the jurors. The grand, yes. Oh, yes.
I just got back. It's like.
Okay. I was like, are they coming in today? I don't know.
I'm just. Thank you, Micah. To remind people that I first. These are the main cast, but I. Well, I need to talk to the quick person.
Your Honor, you want them here?
Yes.
Go ahead and just fill in, fill in all the back.
Okay. And Kathy, were you able to find the,
I haven't even looked. That's what I'm doing right now.
okay.
Don't mix it up.
And everyone, please make sure you remove your hats.
Your cap, sir.
Everyone, please make sure you remove your hats and your caps and your baseball caps.
You can sit in the front side when it says probation. Overnight church, 324 other Steeples.
$75.80.
Oh, so we need the first bench and we need.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Need the first bench. So when we got and sit up here, isn't it?
All right, everyone, please be seated. All right, so everyone, with regards to baseball caps or caps, they're not allowed in the courtroom unless there's a reason for them to be worn. The only reason possible to be wearing a baseball cap is if it says LSU or New Orleans. So, all right, so everyone, I'm going to have you raise your hand. I'm going to give you the oath, and that is the oath for this grand jury. So if everyone can raise your right hand for me, please. Do you and each of you solemnly swear or affirm that you will make true answers to such questions as may be propounded to you by the court or under its directions touching your service and qualifications as a juror, so help you God? All right, so I'm going to go over some laws for you about your service. Now, if there is an issue that any of these questions apply to you, just let the court know. All right. So anyway, to be qualified to serve on a grand jury.
Ron,
Yes.
I believe a grand juror is having trouble hearing.
Oh, if you could come up, please, sir. If we could have him sit in the chair here.
Or the bench.
Yes. Oh, you can sit on the bench. Thank you.
Would that help you hear better, sir?
I hear you.
You can hear me?
Okay, all right. Well, I'm gonna put on my,
Important one.
I'm gonna use my LSU voice when they're not playing well. All right, so I've already sworn everybody in, sir. Were you able to hear the oath or no? All right. So everyone here, you may look extremely young, but you need to be at least 18 years old to serve on the grand jury. You must be a citizen of the United States. You must be a resident of this state and of the county. So I know sometimes Texas is big, and there are some people, I live in Travis County or I live in Harris County. You must be a resident of Bexar County. So if you're not a resident of Bexar County, you cannot serve on this grand jury. You must be qualified to vote. Not that you're registered, although everybody, I believe, should be registered to vote, but you must meet all of the qualifications to actually register to vote. You must be of sound mind and good moral character. People always ask me, what does that exactly mean? There is really no real definition of it. That's for you to internalize and make that decision. You must be able to read and write. You'll notice I didn't say you must be able to read and write English, but you must be able to read and write. You must never have been convicted of a misdemeanor theft or felony. I know sometimes people receive what is called deferred adjudication, but there should have already been checks that have run to make sure that you've never been convicted of a misdemeanor theft or felony. If you feel as though you have, just let them know and they will check on that. You must not be under indictment or legal accusation for a misdemeanor theft or felony. So the police have not called you. They have not given you a date saying you need to be in court or anything of that nature. Is there anybody on this grand jury who is related to anybody else on this grand jury? Look around. Any first cousins? In the back row, yes. All right, just have a seat. We'll take care of that up. Yes? All right, just have a seat. We'll take that up. Thank you. Thanks for letting us know. You must not have served on a grand jury in the year before the date on which the term of court for which the person has been selected as a grand juror begins. So is there anyone here who has served on a grand jury recently? Within a year? Within 2 years? Okay. You must not be a complainant or a victim in any case that is to be heard during this term. Is there anyone here who's a victim or a complainant and your case is pending as we speak? All right. So, anyone? All right. Now, the next thing I'm going to give you are what's called excuses from grand jury. These are things, if you fall into this category, you can say, I would like to be excused. First, if you're older than 70 years of age, and I always think when you have older people involved in a process, they have different experiences and they can bring things to the process. So if you're 70, you can say, I've done my time. I don't want to do my time anymore. But I will tell you, it will be a great service to Bexar County if you were not to use that as an excuse. If you're responsible for the care of a child younger than 18 years of age, if you are a student at a public or private secondary school, if you are enrolled in and in actual attendance at an institution of higher education. So I taught, and for college, we would have Zoom classes. So if you're doing a Zoom class, that doesn't count. You have to actually be in attendance in person. All right. And if there's some other reason that you feel you should be excused. So, yes. Okay. All right. Just be sure and let us know. All right. So what's going to end up happening is we need 16 people to serve on the grand jury. And your dates for service are going to be March 4th to April 30th. You do receive payment. I know it's not enough payment, but you do receive payment. And it's going to be from 9 a.m. to around 3 p.m. Now, what I can tell you is I know that coming downtown for service is an inconvenience. Why do I say it's an inconvenience? Because you got to pay for parking. And you're probably saying, I'm coming down here to do you a favor. Why do I have to pay for parking? You come downtown, and if you're not used to being downtown, there are a lot of one-ways. I don't know why people do that, but the builders decided we're going to have one-ways because that's supposed to make traffic move better. I think it makes it worse because you're already frustrated. You're coming downtown. You're trying to get here on time. Then it's a hurry up and wait situation. And then you see the building where you need to go, but it's a one-way and you can't turn. And you're like, if only I could make this left turn, the building's right there. So then you have to do a full circle. And then you're dependent upon people letting you over so you can make the correct turn. So all of these things are inconveniences. But when you think about it, your country only asks two things of you: pay taxes and come down for grand jury. That's it. And they're not even asking for you to be on grand jury every month or once a year. Those are the only two things that they ask of you. So it's an inconvenience. Let me tell you what a sacrifice is. And I always tell jurors this so we can put things into perspective. My uncle grew up in a small town in Grand Cane, Louisiana. Super intelligent. All the teachers would pass him to the next grade. When his sisters and brother, because there were only two brothers, when his sisters and brother came up behind him in school, all the teachers would tell them, you better show us something because your brother has set the bar very high. Of course, they were a little bit upset that he's setting the bar so high, but he ends up graduating, and he graduates early. When he graduates, the Vietnam War breaks out, and they're drafting people from Vietnam. So he goes to my grandmother, and he's my grandmother's firstborn. Both of them have since passed. And he tells her, the only way I can improve my lot in life is to join the military. And they're already drafting people anyway. And I know I'm underage, but I want you to sign for me. That's a sacrifice, because guess what? During my grandmother's time, this whole thing where you have television 24 hours a day, no. You had 3 stations, ABC, NBC, and CBS. And as you all know, NBC was kind of tricky. Maybe it'll work. You had to have the rabbit ears a certain way. But if there was wind blowing or rain, guess what ends up happening? NBC is not working. And then they would play the national anthem at the end of the day. And that's it. No more stations. If you were lucky, you could come in and there's a flag waving on the television set. So she sends her firstborn off to Vietnam. Nobody knew where it was. They didn't have email where you can just, oh, let me email him and see where he is. Their telephone number had 4 digits. That's why you have that song, Beechwood 74589. You would pick up the phone, you would call the operator, and the operator would say, who would you like to call? And you would give 4 numbers. They gave her his name. She already knew that, of course, and his number. And you know what she put on the envelope? She put her son's name, put his number, and just put Vietnam. And guess what? When he got that, months later, when she got a letter trying to see if he actually made it to Vietnam, months later, and we're talking about 6 months, my grandmother always kept the letters that he sent to her. So I tell people, this is an inconvenience. It's not a sacrifice. So this is what your government is asking of you. So what I need 16 volunteers. So please raise your hand. If you do not raise your hand to volunteer, I'm going to start picking people. So I'm asking for your service for your country. All right. Thank you. Do you need their numbers?
Your Honor, can I ask for their names?
All right. Just
Yes,
one
ma'am.
moment. We're going to continue with a jury trial that we are in. Thank you. Eddie, let me
Meeting.
yes. Who wasn't selected, guess what? You can go and enjoy the Riverwalk. You are excused. All right, thank you. And don't forget to get your parking validated. Yes. Donna, you ready?
Yes, Judge.
All right, court is calling 2021 CR 11795, State of Texas versus Angel Gonzalez. Could I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Honor Shirley Nelson.
Ally
Defense?
Jackson.
Kathy Compton and Rolando Arguez for Mr. Gonzalez.
All right, and are you Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are both parties ready to proceed, state?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense?
We are, Your Honor.
All right, I hear the jurors in the hallway, so we shall start.
Yeah.
Oh, and Dinah, which room are you in?
One.
We're ready.
All rise for the jury.
All right, everyone, please be seated. State, call your next witness.
State calls Dr. James Feig.
All right, if you could raise your right hand for me, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, if you could make sure you keep your voice up for the jurors and for the court reporter. If you'll state your name for the record, please.
Dr. James Feig.
All right, state.
Thank you, Judge. Dr. Feig, can you please spell your last name for the court reporter?
It's spelled Feig, Foxtrot, Echo, India, Golf.
And how are you currently employed?
I am a deputy medical examiner with the Bexar County Medical Examiner's Office.
Could you please tell the jury a bit about your education and background?
So a medical examiner is a forensic pathologist, and a forensic pathologist has graduated from college, which in my case is Oregon State University in Corvallis, Oregon, with a Bachelor of Science degree, and then a medical school degree from Uniform Services University in Bethesda, Maryland, followed by an internship in internal medicine here in San Antonio at what was called at the time Wilford Hall Medical Center, followed by a residency in pathology, also at Wilford Hall Medical Center, followed by a fellowship in forensic pathology at the Bexar County Medical Examiner's Office.
What is forensic pathology?
Forensic pathology, or more generally pathology, is the study of disease and injuries as they affect a body or an organ system, or even down to the individual cellular level. Forensic pathology is simply the application of the principles of medicine and pathology to matters of public interest, such as a courtroom setting.
And how long have you been a medical examiner?
Sorry, 20 years.
In your capacity as medical examiner, do you perform autopsies?
Yes.
What are autopsies, or what's the purpose of them?
An autopsy is a means of investigating a death in order to determine what the cause of death is and the manner of death. And in the process of doing that, things such as injuries to the body and natural disease processes and any toxicological issues are noted.
During your career, approximately how many autopsies have you performed?
I would say somewhere around 2,400.
Have you ever testified before as an expert witness in this area?
Yes.
We'll stipulate that he's an expert.
All right,
Thank you, Judge.
so stipulated.
Dr. Feig, on October 4th, 2021, did you perform an autopsy on a man by the name of Isaac Joseph Aguilar?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
I'm showing you what's been previously marked as State's Exhibit number 3. Do you recognize what this photograph is?
Yeah, I do.
And what is in this photograph?
The photograph being shown to me is what I consider to be an identification photograph. It shows the deceased face along with our medical examiner case number, which in this case is 2021-2955.
And that is Isaac Aguilar, the victim in this case we were just speaking about, correct?
Correct.
Your Honor, at this time, State would offer into evidence State's Exhibit number 3.
No objection.
All right, State's Exhibit number 3 is admitted without objection.
Can you describe the general condition of the body when you began your autopsy?
One of the first things we make note of is the presence of any postmortem changes. Postmortem changes commonly consist of things like lividity, which is a red coloration, and rigor mortis of the muscles. And after a time, that would break down to a stage of decomposition. Those elements, specifically the decomposition, is not present here. And so the body is in a state of what I would call being fresh, meaning not decomposed. And also the general state of the body shows that there has been medical intervention.
When there's medical intervention, do you, under the course of your duties, do you review medical records if there are any provided to you?
Yes.
And in this case, did you review medical records?
Yes.
On the decedent, Mr. Aguilar?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
It's been marked as State's Exhibit number 47. I want to take a look at that real fast. And are these the medical records that you reviewed?
I don't have specific memory of this, but it shows the deceased name and they're from University Hospital, which is where he was treated. So they look like they are appropriate.
And at this time, subject to the business record affidavit filed, we are offering into evidence State's Exhibit number 47.
May we approach?
Yes.
I am going to add an A on this. We're gonna call this 47A. I'm gonna give you a few moments to flip through this. Go ahead and flip through, see what you recognize and verify that these are in fact the records you reviewed before performing your autopsy. While you're looking through those, Dr. Feig, what's the purpose in this case of having to review medical records?
In general, medical records are reviewed in the course of doing a death investigation so that any changes introduced by the medical therapy can be noted. An extreme example might be a gunshot wound wherein a bullet was removed in the OR. Only a review of the medical records would identify that.
And in this case, what were you looking for?
In this case specifically, the thoracostomy, which is a procedure wherein the chest is open so that direct access to the heart can be obtained. That thoracostomy procedure had been done. And I wanted to see if there had been evidence of internal bleeding when they did that.
And reviewing these records, is that what you found when you were looking through these records? You looked to see what all had been done to attempt to save the decedent's life.
Yes.
And looking through this now, are these the records that you reviewed?
I mean, again, I don't specifically remember them, but the details here are consistent with the medical records I had reviewed, yes.
And in your time, how often do you have to review medical records?
Daily.
At this time, state would offer 47A.
May I take what is on what I?
Yes.
So, Dr. Feig, you're saying that this looks consistent to you just because it has the same name as the person that you conducted the autopsy on?
In addition to the procedures performed, which correlate to my autopsy findings.
That as you sit here today, you don't have any independent recollection of looking through those records, specifically reviewing them, or which pages out of those records you reviewed, or anything like that?
Essentially, yes. I know that I had reviewed medical records because I referenced them in my report. You know, this case occurred in October of 2021. So it almost seems unfair that you would ask me to specifically remember this record. That's not going to be true for.
Right, that will be.
An instruction to the witness.
That will be sustained. Ladies and gentlemen, you're to disregard the last answer.
So what I'm asking you is that those records that you have in front of you, you don't have an independent recollection other than just because of the identifiers that are on the reports.
As I said, they're consistent.
Okay. I don't have any objection to the exhibit coming in, subject to our previous discussions.
All right, and then state, so the exhibit that you're offering is states exhibit 47A?
Yes, Judge.
All right, then that will be admitted without objection.
All righty. So Dr. Feig, what had been done after you had reviewed the medical records? What had been done in order to try to attempt to save Isaac Aguilar's life?
Actually, I've sort of referenced this, but he did receive life-saving, attempted life-saving procedure called a thoracotomy, which is opening up the chest and getting direct access to the organs of the chest, including the heart.
All right, and just one moment. Excuse me, Dr. Fife, if you're using medical terminology, if you could spell that, that would help the court reporter. And there's no need to do it as whiskey foxtrot or anything of that nature, just spell.
Would you like me to spell thoracotomy?
Yes, please.
THORACOTOMY.
Thank you.
Dr. Feig, what was the result of your external examination of Mr. Aguilar?
So to break this down, the autopsy consists of two main parts: an external examination followed by an internal examination where we look inside the body. On the external examination, as we've already mentioned, we have the evidence of the thoracotomy. And in addition to that, we have injuries consisting of 2 stab wounds.
And where were the stab wounds located?
Both of the stab wounds involve the left side of the chest.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes. In defense, if you need to move around to see what the witness is viewing.
So I'm showing you what's been marked first, State's Exhibit number 46. What is in State's Exhibit number 46?
The paperwork I'm looking at now is what I call the body diagram that I created for this case, which shows a brief description of the injuries to the body.
And where they're located?
Yes,
And you said you created this, correct?
yes,
Okay, and do you believe that this would be helpful for the jury in terms of seeing where these injuries were?
I do.
This time the state would offer State's Exhibit number 46 into evidence.
No objection.
Right, State's Exhibit number 46 is admitted without objection.
And then next, I'm going to show you State's Exhibit number 43, 44, and 45. Do you recognize these photos?
These 3 photos are photographs that I took during the examination.
Okay, and are they of the decedent, Mr. Isaac Aguilar?
Yes,
And are these the condition that he was presented to during your autopsy?
well, one of them is an as-is photo. The other 2 are after we have released the sutures that were holding the incision of the chest closed.
So are these a fair and accurate representation of Mr. Aguilar as you saw him during your autopsy?
Yes.
At this time, State would offer State's Exhibit 43, 44, and 45 into evidence.
Judge, can we approach?
Yes. States exhibits 43 and 44 are admitted without objection.
Permission to publish, Your Honor?
Granted.
Alright. So Dr. Spike, let's go ahead and start off looking at what's been marked and admitted as State's Exhibit number 46. Now, this is what you described as the chart you created, correct?
The body diagram. yes.
Body diagram. So let's go ahead and first talk about this one, stab wound A. What can you tell me about stab wound A?
Would you like me to go through the findings of
Yeah.
the stab wounds? Okay. So, so on the body diagram, we see the external evidence of stab wound A, which is sort of below the left nipple area. And when we do the internal examination, we find that that stab wound extends into the chest cavity in between ribs and enters the heart.
I'm showing you what's been marked and admitted as State's Exhibit number 43. So are you able to see stab wound A in this photograph?
Truthfully, not really. Am I able to point?
Yes, or you can even approach down here and you can point. Make sure you speak up and towards these microphones.
Okay, so this defect here, which is sort of in the hairline of the tattoo of the chest, that's actually showing the other stab wound, which I have labeled as stab wound B in the diagram. Above that, you can see the sutured thoracotomy, which again is the medical intervention. The sutures that are holding that incision closed also enclose the stab wound A. So therefore, I would say that you can't really see stab wound A until we release those sutures.
So I'm going to show you what's been marked and admitted as State's Exhibit number 44. Now, as you can see up here, is this kind of a closer photo?
Yes, so this is considered a close-up photo. Down here, we can see stab wound B. And up here, this is after we've released the sutures, and we can see stab wound A.
Now, is this how it would have appeared before those sutures were done, or has anything happened with the skin?
Well, I mean, the only thing that would be different is that incision would not have been there.
Okay. So would the skin have been stretched any, or like would that hole have been about that same size, or what effect does the suturing have?
When you incise the skin like this in such a wide area, the skin tends to retract. So before the incision, we would expect the skin to cover this gap area. So therefore, things collapse down a little bit.
Okay. You can go ahead and take a seat back up there. So whatever, I'm gonna go ahead and approach. I'm sure it's been marked but not admitted right now as State's Exhibit number 45. Now you said this was a closer up photo of that injury and the incision, correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And what is being done in here to manipulate the body at all?
So I guess you can't see this photograph, but what's happening here is that there is an assistant that is putting traction on the skin to sort of reproduce how it would have appeared if it were not for the incision above it.
That this is what the skin would normally have looked like, or like the amount of elasticity, I can't say that word.
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, we would once again offer State's Exhibit number 45.
All right.
I'll make the same objections that I made previously, Your Honor.
All right. If I could see number 45 again, please.
Yes, Your Honor. And the state would argue this helps the jury understand what was done.
All right, everyone, please be seated. State, I believe you were offering into evidence States Exhibits 43, 44, and 45.
Your Honor.
Any objections, defense?
Other than, well, at this point now, I don't have any objections.
All right, States Exhibits 43, 44, and 45 are admitted without objection.
First published, Your Honor.
Granted.
All right. So we were just talking about State's Exhibit number 45, which is,
And you may step down.
yeah, been redacted. So I'm showing you 44 and 45 together, as you can see. Can you please explain what's happening in State's Exhibit number 45? Which is on top of 44 at the moment.
Okay, so 45 can be considered a close-up of 44, right?
And that's what you were talking about, manipulating the skin, correct?
Yeah, did I say that in court? Or-
Yes.
Okay, so sorry. In this photograph, what is the only difference really is that there is an assistant that's making the skin taut to reapproximate how it would have appeared without that incision above it.
I think you can go ahead and take a seat. Now that we've shown the jury stab wound A and stab wound B, what were the findings once you were examining Mr. Aguilar internally?
So I think I'd mentioned previously the stab wound A, the one that is closest to the incision produced by the thoracotomy, it goes in between the ribs and goes into the chest cavity, goes through what's called the pericardial sac, and enters the heart. The other stab wound B, does not enter a body cavity. It does not enter the chest cavity, it does not enter the abdominal cavity. What it does is that the blade is stopped by the ribs themselves.
And stab wound B, you're stopped by the ribs. How do you know it was stopped by the ribs?
When doing the internal examination or the autopsy, when we remove the skin and subcutaneous layer from stab wound B, we can see knife marks on the ribs.
So going back to stab wound A, you said that this pierced the heart, correct?
That is correct.
Did you measure the depth of the incision or the depth of the wound?
I did.
And how long was that wound?
So the answer is approximately 9 centimeters. It's going to be around 3.5 inches. There is, however, a caveat that I have to give for this. Measuring depths of stab wounds is inexact. This is due to the fact that we don't know the exact positioning of the heart when the knife entered it, and we don't know how far into the heart the knife actually extended. So this is sort of a minimum distance that could have resulted in these injuries.
And then what about stab wound B?
Stab wound B did not enter very deeply, again, because it's stopped by the ribs. It's actually going to be somewhere around 1 1/3 inches.
And for stab wound A, you said it pierced the heart. Would that be considered a serious bodily injury?
That would be considered a serious bodily injury and a fatal injury.
Did you at this time or during your autopsy, did you also perform any sort of toxicology testing?
Toxicology testing was performed.
Okay, by you or someone else?
The toxicology samples are obtained by myself in the morgue. They are tested in our forensic toxicology lab elsewhere in the building.
And what's the purpose for that?
Of what?
Of toxicology testing.
The toxicology testing has a few different purposes. For one, we often are confronted with overdose deaths. And in those situations, the toxicology actually shows what the cause of death is. For other situations, such as maybe a traffic accident, it is, and there's a driver involved, it may be of interest for someone to know what levels of alcohol they might be on or what other drugs are in their system. That would not actually impact my cause of death statement, but it is something that would enter again into the realm of public interest.
And in Mr. Aguilar's toxicology screen, did you find alcohol?
Alcohol or ethanol is present, yes.
What was the result of that?
So in testing the blood, his alcohol level is 0.113.
And then also during the course of your autopsy, did you collect any known samples from Mr. Aguilar?
I'm sorry,
Any known samples or blood samples?
I'm not sure I understand.
Do you ever take a blood card?
Yes, it's standard practice to obtain what we call a blood spot card, and that can be utilized for doing DNA examination.
And in this case, did you take a blood drop card from Mr. Aguilar?
Yes.
So based upon your autopsy and everything that you reviewed, do you have an opinion as to the cause of death of Mr. Aguilar?
The cause of death is stab wounds.
Ask the witness.
Defense?
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
So, doctor, I'm just gonna refer you to your general examination of Isaac. Would you agree with me that 70 inches tall, because we normally don't measure ourselves in inches, is that about 5'10"?
5'10", yes.
Okay. And with regard to the weight, I believe that you said, well, did you say how much he weighed?
Just over 250 pounds.
So 252 pounds is what your report notes, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so 5'10" and 252 pounds.
Yes.
And I want to ask you about the stab wounds. So with stab wound A, well, I'm going to reverse that. Stab wound B, would that have been, in your opinion, on its own, a fatal?
Okay, good point. The stab wound B is in a category that we would say probably not fatal with appropriate medical attention, meaning that the wound is irrigated and checked for any bleeding from small vessels and antibiotics are applied.
And stab wound A, you basically, it sounds like you said that there was, so the pericardial sac, can you just explain to the jury what that is in layman's terms?
I'll try.
Thanks.
So the heart in the chest is surrounded by a thin tissue capsule called the pericardial sac. And literally it is sort of like a balloon almost surrounding the heart.
And so we have this kind of sac, and then the heart is inside of that sac.
Yes.
And inside that sac, is there like blood inside there, or what's inside? Like, is there stuff inside the sac other than just the heart itself?
Ordinarily, that would be something we call a potential space. There really shouldn't be anything in there. If there's something like blood, that would be considered pathologic. If there's pus, that would be pathologic. And those would be the two main things that actually would be in that space.
So is it more just kind of like, would it be more accurate to think of it almost kind of like a saran wrap around the heart? Like you're not supposed to have lots of gaps or anything, but a healthy pericardial sac would be pretty wrapped around there.
I think that's a good analogy.
I'm always trying to think of things in the way that my brain is. And you said that pericardial sac had been punctured, correct?
Yes.
And then you said that there was a perforation in that left ventricle wall near the apex of the heart. So explain to me, what is the apex of the heart?
All right. So I'm going to try and give the jury an anatomy lesson. So the heart is perhaps a little bit reverse of what you might think when we refer to the base and the apex. The base is actually on top of the heart, and it is where the great vessels enter and leave the heart. So for example, the aorta and the vena cava.
Excuse me, vena cava, if you'll spell that, please.
Venacava. Where that junction is considered the base of the heart. The opposite end, which is actually now down lower, is what we refer to as the apex, and that's sort of a free standing part of the heart, and actually sort of makes a little bit of a point, because if you think about it, the base is a little bit more broad and the apex is a little bit more pointed. Does that make sense?
No, that's very helpful. And then so explain like what the ventricles are. You said you're talking about the left one here, but I'm assuming we have a left and a right. Is that correct?
There's 4 chambers in the heart. There's 2 atria and 2 ventricles. Both the atria and the ventricles are divided into left and right components. The left component is the part of the heart that pumps blood into the body, with the exception of the lungs. And so therefore that heart muscle is thicker than on the right side.
And so the blood would come into, like, if my hands are, I'm trying to make a big heart with my hands. On the left side is where the blood comes into the heart.
The blood will enter on the right side.
Oh, I'm sorry, on the right side, and then is the left side what pumps it out to the rest of the.
Right. I mean that. So right, the actual flow is going to be the blood comes into the right atrium, then it goes into the right ventricle, and then it gets pumped out into the lungs, where it is oxygenated, and then it will come back into the left side of the heart in the left atrium, and then outflow through the aorta, aorta, to the body.
So what happens in that left ventricle? I didn't hear it mentioned.
What do you mean?
Like what, the left ventricle, where is that on the journey of the blood in the heart, in or out? The left ventricle.
Yeah, the left ventricle is going to be the final stop before it enters the body. The thing about the left ventricle is that is the true pumping portion. So that has the most muscle, and it contracts strongly enough to send the blood on its journey to the body.
So essentially, any sort of puncture to that left ventricle, that could be life-threatening without a doubt, right?
Yes, yes.
And was there only, you said, a single puncture?
There is a single puncture. I had actually noted, if I can refer to my report,
Sure.
The defect in the heart is 2.5 centimeters.
And that's what you said was about, you said about 3 inches or no?
I'm sorry.
How put centimeters to inches for all of us that don't use metric?
I mean, 1 centimeter is going to be just about 0.4 inches. So just under half an inch.
So 2.5 centimeters. I'm gonna cheat and use my calculator.
I don't do math under pressure either.
Me neither, so
That makes me feel better. So would you disagree if the math comes out to about 0.98 inches? Like just under an inch?
I have a sheet here, a ruler with both
Oh, awesome.
units, and yes, I agree with you.
Okay. So you have a perforation in the left ventricle that is a little less than an inch in depth or in length. I just want to make sure I'm understanding.
This is a diameter that's being given. So it's going to be the widest part of the defect.
So it could potentially be like a knife point where it's just, you're measuring whatever the widest diameter of the puncture is, right?
That would be correct, yes.
Okay. And so if we're referring back to the state's exhibit. So if we're looking at the state's exhibit number 44, so you're not talking about, when you're talking about the measurements in the ventricle, you're not talking about this image here. You're talking about once you actually examine the heart itself. Once you've,
That's correct.
okay. And to be clear, as part of an autopsy, for most of us who don't do your kind of work, it sounds pretty gruesome, but you do actually have to open up the chest cavity sometimes to see what's going on in the body, right?
Correct.
And in this case, you found that there was a puncture to that left ventricle, a single puncture, that you have a diameter, but you said that it's very hard to calculate with any certainty what the actual depth was?
But there's sort of two different things. The measurement of the defect on the heart is just a measurement. The measurement of the depth of penetration from the top level of the skin to the deepest point of the wound tract, that's what I was trying to say is a little inexact. Again, because we don't know the exact positioning of the heart at the time. Was it contracting or was it expanding? And we don't know, since these are sort of, hollow organs, they do move around a bit inside the body. What I typically do for a situation like this is I measure conservatively and give a minimum distance that would account for all the findings. Does that make sense?
It does, thank you. And so when you're doing the autopsy, in this case, like, it's not like some of the shows where you'll see where you could put these big, like big rods in and be like, oh, he got stabbed at this angle when he was laying on his back and he'd eaten, Cheerios for breakfast. And you just, there's a lot of stuff you just can't know from your examination, correct?
We certainly take a look at the wound track and give things like directionality, but I mean, I guess more towards your point, if you watch any sort of crime show, they have a tendency to attribute things that we do that simply are not possible.
Right. So in this case, was it possible for you to determine at what angle these wounds were made?
So again, I can tell you the directionality through the body. The problem with that is that we don't know what the actual positioning of the body was in at the time the injury was produced.
So for example, you couldn't tell as whether or not, say, this wound, and this was on the right side?
The left side.
The left side. So you wouldn't be able to tell us whether this was a wound that was caused by somebody being standing up and being stabbed this way, or whether they fell. You don't have a way to determine that from your examination of these wounds, do you?
The answer is yes. I just want to rephrase that slightly.
Okay.
So in this example, and I think we're talking about the heart stab wound, the directionality as it goes through the body is coming front to back, and it's coming slightly left to right.
Can
Now,
do you mind stepping down and can you, I'm gonna be the crash test dummy, I guess, but can you show the jury, just, and you can use my pen sort of to kind of show, like, where would, if, use the pen as the point, where would that have gone in and what direction?
Okay, so this, not to scale at all.
For the record, I'm barely 5'2", and I'm not gonna say how much I weigh.
Okay, so there's two components to this stab wound track. It's going front to back, and it's going a little left to right, which is like this. So if we try and do both of those things at once, it's going to be something like this.
Right.
But to your point, I don't know if that happened while he was standing or lying down or sitting.
And you don't know if it was with somebody else holding a knife or if he fell on a knife that he was holding. You don't have a way to determine that from your autopsy, do you?
I mean, that would be an unusual way to fall on your knife, but I can't discount it.
If somebody's wrestling around and there's a knife involved, you don't have a way from your autopsy to know what happened or what sequence of events caused that injury, do you?
Yes.
Yes, you do, or no, you don't?
I'm trying to agree with you. Yes, I agree.
So could you or could you not determine how those injuries occurred?
Right. So the thing is that we have basically a snapshot, and we don't know the circumstances that led up to that. What we have is just, like I said, a snapshot of how things end up.
Okay, great. So essentially, doctor, what you can tell this jury is just what you told the prosecutors, that we know that Isaac died from a stab wound and potentially the 2 stab wounds, right?
Yes.
That you don't have a way to know how those stab wounds occurred. Do you?
Yes. I mean, can you ask me the question again? I don't.
You know that there was a stab wound, but you have no idea of how it was inflicted other than the information that you just gave the jury as far as the directionality.
That is correct.
Okay. And at the time that you were doing the autopsy, you didn't have any information about any sort of height, weight, or information about another person who was involved in Isaac's death, did you?
We generally do not have that information available to us.
So you don't have any way to know how that, I guess, when you say like a manner and means of a death, that's what you usually come up with once you've done an autopsy, right?
Right. So just to rephrase that again, the examination of the body then leads us to a characterization of the cause of death and the manner of death.
Okay. And you would agree with me that anytime that a person is that a death occurs that was caused by some sort of intervening manner. I guess, well, let me ask you this. What can homicide mean?
So homicide, okay, let me back up a little bit. So I have discussed manner of death a few times here. The pathology manner of death only has a few choices, and they are natural, accident, suicide, and homicide. To focus in on homicide specifically, that is simply put meant to indicate that a death is at the hands of another. We do not consider that to be necessarily murder. And I'm going to give you an example. When there is a bad guy that is confronting police and they fire at him, this may be a bad example, but typically that is done in the course of someone's job, and it is a homicide, but not necessarily a murder, if that makes any sense.
Sure. so homicide just means that a person died by some mechanism other than what you mentioned, natural, suicide, accident, and, you know, when, let's say, let me ask you about this example. So for example, you said there's accident. Well, let's just say that you come over to my house and I'm like, oh man, I got this cool new shotgun I want to show you. And I bring it out and boom. Oh my God, I just shot my friend, Dr. Feig, in the chest. That, if you came to one of your colleagues as an autopsy, that would be ruled a homicide, would it not?
So that qualifies in our pathology definition as a homicide. Yes, the question about whether or not that would result in some sort of criminal prosecution is that's not a part of the pathologist's job.
And so another example would be, let's say if I invite you over to look at my new shotgun and you're like, Kathy, what in the world are you doing with that gun? Give it here. And I'm like, no, you can't have it. And we're arguing over the gun and it goes off. And oh my God, you shot me. If I go and get autopsied, that's probably going to come across in a report as a homicide, right?
Yes.
And your job essentially is that you are a medical doctor who determines what made someone die.
Yes. So again, our primary directive and the reason we're really here is to assign a cause of death and a manner of death.
And I have another weird question for you. I'm kind of, so with regard to that the B, you said that it was stopped by the ribs, and you said it was in your report, were there actually 2 ribs where you did find markings from the knife, or was it just one? How did it stop?
No, the knife did leave a mark on 2 rib surfaces. Yes.
Okay, and in your report, you referenced the left 8th and 9th ribs. How many ribs, like if I'm going to be the demonstrator, but how many ribs do human beings have?
So each side, the right and left side, will have 12.
And so where on me would the 8th and 9th rib be?
It's actually getting pretty low.
I know, I'm not to scale, but
I'm going to
how
say,
tall are you? Maybe you're a better crash test dummy. How tall are you? You're taller than me.
I'm
So-
still going to use you.
All right.
I mean, so one thing to keep in mind is the ribs are not directly horizontal. They sort of curve around. So when we're at,
There you go.
I mean, maybe I should be using myself, but it's gonna be like somewhere in this vicinity.
So up around here would be the 8th
Yeah,
and 9th.
it's what I would consider the mid
So the
chest.
numbers go from low number to high number.
The one is one is up here and 12 is down here. Yes,
Okay, so you said 8th or 9th rib,
8th and 9th.
8th and 9th. So why is it up here if the numbers get bigger down, going down?
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 12.
Okay. So you said up here?
Yeah, I'm approximately.
Okay.
So keep in mind, the ribs are only in the chest. You have a whole abdomen that has no ribs.
So if we're looking at on these photos here, let's look at this picture. Can you point out here with this picture where, like, approximately where
So
the rib
when-
8th and 9th would be?
When I look at this picture, so I mean, so we're up in this level. It's trying to remember how I said this was going. So we're really, when I look at this picture, it's a little bit higher than I said on you.
Mhm.
where I pointed to you would probably be more of the level of stab wound B.
Oh, that's
Oh,
what
wait,
I'm
that-
talking
okay,
about,
okay,
stab
sorry.
wound. That's why I'm confused.
I'm getting confused now too. Okay, stab wound B, yes.
So stab wound B would be, it would have been lower down around here, like 8th or 9th.
So you're actually pointing to an area where there are no ribs.
Uh-oh,
So I think that's the point of confusion.
okay,
And when we get down to like the 11th and 12th ribs, they don't actually go all the way around. They're just like little nubs in the back.
okay. So if we're looking at States Exhibit number 43, and so just for reference, there's a tattoo on Isaac's abdomen of a woman, and would the actual ribs be like above where that injury is, or
I think that the ribs are going to be pretty much right underneath that.
okay? Okay, well, that makes sense to me. I was just trying to figure out where those ribs were.
So, but again, keep in mind the ribs are not completely horizontal, they curve. So they actually join up here. It's probably too much information, but they join up here in the sternum, and then they sort of for this area of ribs, they're actually going to dip down and then go back up and join the backbone.
And so for the record, it's sort of like at a curve from about, like you're motioning kind of mid-chest, and it kind of curves around at an angle each way,
Yeah.
kind of curving around.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you, doctor. And I think this hopefully will be my last question about your examination of Isaac's body. When in your report, you go through, when you do an internal examination, you examine, there's kind of, would it be safe to say there's kind of a protocol that you go through when you do your examinations of anybody?
I agree with that.
Okay, and in this case, significantly, of course, other than the things we talked about, you noted there, when you say cardiovascular system, what does that include that you're looking at?
The cardiovascular system, the main component we look at is the heart, but it also includes the vessels.
So the vessels to the heart, like that you were saying, the aorta and the,
Vena cava,
oh my gosh, the vena cava.
yes, correct.
Okay, and does that include the pericardial sac?
I mean, it probably can. I did not. You're looking at page 3, are
I'm
you?
looking at your report, page 3, for your reference, yes.
So this is very technical, but typically I would say that the heart, everyone's different, but I would give the heart weight and then say it's in an intact pericardial sac. In this case, since the pericardial sac is not intact, I don't include it here because I have a separate section for injuries.
And so in that cardiovascular system, when you talk about the uninjured epicardial surface is smooth and with epicardial petechiae, that just means the part of the heart that you're looking at that was not the injury, but the rest of the heart.
Right. So excluding injury, that is what the heart looks like. Yes.
Okay. And what does epicardial mean?
So epicardial, EPICARDIAL, is it's just a scientific word for the outside or external surface of the heart.
So like the surface of your heart. I
Yeah.
guess your heart doesn't have skin, but it's that surface of the heart.
Yes.
Okay. So doctor, is there anything that I haven't asked you about that you feel like it's important for this jury to know with regard to your examination of Isaac?
I mean, to summarize from a pathology standpoint, we have 2 stab wounds, one of which enters the heart and produces internal bleeding into the chest cavity. And we have another stab wound that is also in the chest, but does not penetrate into the chest cavity because it penetrates ribs, but does not go beyond that. The other component of doing an internal examination is to see if there's evidence of natural disease. And in this case, I would say there's no significant natural disease. Does that answer your question?
Does, and I just, one follow-up to that, as part of your review of, in this case, would the timing of the medical intervention for Isaac, would it have made a difference? Had, say, let's just say that he had been injured right outside the emergency room door. Would any sort of timing on the medical intervention made a difference?
I would have to say that for this case, the injury is devastating. And so even if there's immediate medical assistance, I would opine that this is a fatal injury, regardless of the treatment.
Thank you, Doctor. I'll pass the witness.
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, is this witness excused or subject for recall?
Excuse from the state.
I'm gonna say subject to recall, but just to be on the safe side, I'd rather do that.
All right, if you will leave the items that have been admitted and just make sure you're available if either party wishes to recall you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Judge, may we approach with us?
Yes.
State call or recalls Officer Owen.
Judge, we may need to approach.
Yes.
Officer Jason Owen.
Thank you, Judge. Yeah, good afternoon, Officer Owen. So may I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Just gonna hand you what had previously been marked as patient visit 34 in case you need to refer back to your report. So as you previously testified on October 9th, 2021, you went to try to track down Angel Gonzalez to serve an arrest warrant for murder, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell us a little more in detail? Where did you go to try to find him? Or what type of place?
We were at an apartment complex. I don't know the exact location offhand.
And was it just you or were other people with you?
There were other members of my unit that went with us, along with a detective that worked with us at the time.
What happened when you arrived at the apartment complex?
When we arrived at the apartment complex, the officers that were already located at the apartment complex made a visual confirmation on the suspected murder warrant, the wanted person. We got out of the unmarked vehicle and approached, announcing ourselves. Whenever we announced, the apartment complex had 2 floors. He was walking up the stairs. He ended up jumping from the upper balcony.
I'm gonna go ahead and stop you real fast. So as you were approaching the apartment complex, you're saying you saw the suspect,
Yes,
correct?
ma'am.
And at some point you guys announced yourself as police.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, were you dressed in clothing that I also identified you as police officer?
Yes, ma'am.
You say that you announced him and that what did the defendant do after you announced yourselves as police?
He ran. He fled.
And what did he do to run and get away from y'all?
He jumped off the awning from the 2nd story, and then took off through the parking lot of the apartment complex.
What did you do?
I followed him on. I ran behind him after he jumped off, and then I was able to catch up to him in the parking lot behind, where I grabbed him and we went to the ground.
And what kind of ground did you go on to?
It was a gravel parking lot.
Did you sustain any injuries from falling onto the gravel parking lot?
Yes, I got scrapes and bruises on my arms before we landed.
No further questions, pass the witness.
Any questions?
Brief round.
Yes.
So you said that he jumped from the 2nd story of the apartment complex?
Yes, sir.
How did he land?
I don't know that. I believe he landed on his feet, but I'm not quite sure.
Would it surprise you that you said that he landed on hands on and knees?
It would not surprise me. But
So could you show that to us? How would that be if somebody lands on their hands and knees?
Are you asking for him to
Do
demonstrate?
you have a copy of your report in front of you?
yes, I do.
Can you refer to it?
I'm gonna object, he is having him refer to something that the question didn't call for him
All
to
right, that'll be
refer.
overruled. You can
Sure,
review
yes, I
your,
do.
you may review your report,
Yes.
and then the defense is going to have some questions for you.
Okay.
All right, so have you had a chance to review it?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. You can ask your question.
So it was your testimony that you observed him jump, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you saw him land.
Yes.
Could you show me how he landed? If you may step down and
Like, where would you like me to? I don't.
right here in the middle of the well. The courtroom.
Whenever he landed, he initially landed on his feet. From the height, I'm guessing he crumpled down. He landed here and then kind of grabbed up and then continued on.
Thank you. And then you chased behind him for short distance, long distance.
I would go a short distance. It was through the parking lot, so
And when you caught up to him, how did you detain him? Did you immediately just grab his hands, put his hands behind his back? How did you do it?
no, I fully wrapped around. So I caught his arms down and I wrapped my arms around him and we both went to the ground.
So Like this?
Yes, sir.
And when he hit the ground, did his face hit the ground? Did you like push his face on the ground?
I can't recall at this time. I don't believe I pushed his face down.
So he didn't sustain any injuries to his face at that time.
I can't recall after we got him in handcuffs, the rest of my unit took control of the suspect at the time.
If he would have sustained any injuries, you would have made a report on that, correct?
If my sergeant would have advised me to, like if my supervisor should have been on scene, and if he told me to do like a use of force, then yes, I would have.
So in your training experience, is it protocol that if there's use of force used on the detention, that you would have to make a report on that?
It would have been protocol if it was determined that use of the force was used on him.
And there's no such report in this case that you made.
I don't know. I got this report and that's it.
I'll ask you, do you remember making a report like that?
I don't believe we deem this as a use of force.
No further questions, pass the witness.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, is this witness excused?
Yes, from the state.
He's excused, Judge.
All right, thank you. State, call your next witness.
Your Honor, at this time, the state rests.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we're going to take our lunch break. Remember my instructions, you're not to start deliberating with yourself or with each other. Everything that you need to know about this case is to come from school board. All right, so I'm going to have you all come back at 1:35. All right, everyone, please rise for the jurors.